Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, AI for Finance, Financial Trading with MATLAB. So my name is Arpad Forberger and I'm one of the application engineers here at the company. And today I will be giving a session on how to build a self-learning automated trader using reinforcement learning. AI or artificial intelligence is powering a massive shift in the roles that computers play in our personal and professional lives. So, to new workflows, deep learning and reinforcement learning are transforming industries with their ability to allow computers to self-learn. It's being used to develop applications such as diagnosing medical conditions, driving autonomous vehicles, controlling robots, and financial trading. So, in this session, I will cover what is reinforcement learning, and how does it differ from traditional machine learning and deep learning. And we will discuss a case study here and development of a self-learning financial trading agent. So reinforcement learning is being applied to many applications that require a complex set of decisions to be made. So you may recall some famous applications related to AI gaming, where reinforcement learning was used to master the game Go and be the world's best human players. But there are a lot of non-recreational applications, from teaching a computer to trade the stock market, teaching a robot to walk, or teaching an autonomously driven car to navigate traffic. So to introduce reinforcement learning, high-level overview is that it's used to learn to master complex tasks, so such as robot learning to walk through trial and error. And the question is, what do these videos remind you of? So here in the previous sections, yes, from the parent's perspective, it looks remarkably similar when a child learns to walk for the first time. And okay, how long does it take a child to walk? Well, roughly 10 to 18 months. And how long do you think it took this robot to learn to walk? Well, it took a few weeks. And computers never get tired, they never get hungry, they don't get distracted. And to begin with reinforcement learning, short introduction to this one. So as many of you are maybe new to this reinforcement learning field, so I will begin by introducing a few concepts here. To make this interesting, I would like to play a short quiz here. To set the scene, the goal is to reach the highest total score from starting point to an end point. So we are starting at S0 here at T0. At T1, we have three paths we can take. So right now, we don't know what scores we will get by taking any of these paths. However, good news is that we have walked this path before and we knew the score. Questions should be, so which path do I take to get the maximum score? Yes, right, A3. It's 14 points. And now we would like to move to S4. However, we see the scores for each of these passes as follows. And now we know the scores across all time steps. Which path should be taken to get the highest score? Yes, that's right. That should be the top path here. Okay, so let's pause here for a short section. So we would get 105 points if we choose the uppermost path. So if we knew all the scores for all the paths in the beginning, we would know the best path to take. Yes, but what if the path from the start to end looks like this? As humans, it takes us time to learn through trial and error, aka simulations, to know how to get to the maximum score. How to do that? If we have a similar setup like here. So we have a starting point here on the left, which is point 1. We have the summary and the right, which is point through. So what does it really remind you of? For me, it's like a trip. I see my trip to work every day. There are steps I need to make, a number of decisions along the way to reach the ultimate goal of getting to work in the shortest possible time. I know all the back roads, so if I see traffic jams on the way, I know which next path to take so I don't arrive late. So reinforcement learning is about trying to reach the highest possible reward total for a given goal. It learns how to achieve this through multiple trial and error simulations and learning what works and what doesn't along the way. When there are a high number of decisions to make, deep neural networks are ideal to map these out. And where does reinforcement learning fit into the overall machine learning and AI landscape? For a quick review, and with traditional machine learning, we have unsupervised learning, useful for grouping unlabeled historical datasets. And then we have supervised learning, so which can be used if you have historical inputs along with labeled outputs. A challenge with supervised learning is that the raw input data typically needs to be cleaned, analyzed for features that will help train the models for higher accuracy. Extending this, deep learning is being applied to machine learning problems to help minimize the need for extracting features. And the big issue with any of these traditional approaches is that historical data is needed to build a robust, accurate model. And reinforcement learning helps alleviate this challenge by generating the data needed to model. It does this through multiple simulations, so with trial and error. And it's important to know that its aim is to learn a behavior as opposed to fitting a model with the highest possible accuracy. And what does the reinforcement learning workflow look like? So we start with an environment model. This is where you, the domain experts, need to define the simulation environment you want your reinforcement learning agent to learn. We then define a reward that measures how good a job we are doing. So this is where you, the domain experts, need to determine how to reward good behavior and penalize bad behavior. This sets the basis for how the agent will learn how to accomplish tasks. Then define a deep neural network that will act as our policy. This is the brains behind the scenes. So this is where all good actions that are learned are stored so that the agent remembers what to do in similar situations occurring after training is complete. And then combine it with a reinforcement learning algorithm to create an agent. So the agent has been mentioned a few times already. So the agent is what is doing the actual learning. So in reinforcement learning, there are different types of agents, each with their own unique characteristics. Some are more well suited for continuous problems, others more suited to discrete. We then train the agent by running multiple simulations until we are happy with its performance. And finally, we deploy the trained deep neural network policy. An interesting point to make here, one of the benefits of reinforcement learning is that the agent can continue to learn after it's deployed. So it doesn't need to be retrained from scratch as new data is recorded. So it can use the outcomes to add to previous experience. So I will now apply these workflow concepts to a simple example. We have this environment here. In this example, it's a small 5 by 5 grid. The red circle is the agent. Its current state is what location it is in, and each time step it will take an action to move up, down, left, or right. The agent will be rewarded once it reaches its goal, but will be penalized for each step on the way. So to add a small bit of complexity, there are some squares it cannot walk through, and in one particular location, it can take a shortcut that will be rewarded. So when we view this, it's easy to see which path the agent should take. However, you need to keep in mind that in the beginning, the agent does not know what the entire grid looks like, what rewards it will get along the way. It needs to learn these. Okay, and for simulation 1, it takes a path. It sees in this path 2 actions where a good reward is given. Then it stores in the memory. Then through multiple simulations, it eventually finds the best path to take. However, to make the agent as robust as possible, it needs to know which path to take from multiple starting points. So it's good practice to change the starting point during training, so that in the end it knows exactly which path to take no matter where it starts. Once again, this is a simple example, and as humans, this is easy for us to understand and master. It's a bit of an overkill to ask a computer to learn this simple task. Okay, and the reality is what we can see here, that the real-world applications are much more complex. It would take a lifetime to learn and be difficult to remember which path to take in a grid this size. For a computer, this could be done in a shorter time and memory would never be lost. So this concludes a small introduction into what reinforcement learning is, what applications it is suited for, and the workflow involved in building one. So let's move into our case study. And the goal of this reinforcement learning agent is simple. So we want to learn how to trade the financial markets without ever losing money. This is different from learn how to trade the market and make the most money possible. And let's apply some of the terminology and concepts of teaching a reinforcement learning agent to trade. The agent in this case study is the computer. It will observe financial market indicators, states. The financial market is the environment. The actions it can take are buy, hold, or sell. It needs to learn which action to take and when. So this is the policy. And it learns by understanding what is a good trade or a bad trade via rewards. And that's where our reinforcement learning algorithm is taking place. And we will run multiple simulations, and through this trial and error, we can make our product as robust as possible for the given circumstances. So in this case study, only 3 stocks are looked at. So there are in some 27 possible actions. So the states chosen are not all possible indicators that are available. The ones chosen were done just to help understand if a stock is moving up or down in price. So if you have your own indicators you use to assess when to trade, this is where you include them and improve on the case study. A few words about the trading strategy. It's quite simplistic for now. So there are a lot of more factors to consider and more complex way to trade, but for the purposes of this demonstration, they have not been considered. Just to repeat again, so we have 3 stocks and we try to find the best time to buy, sell, or hold each stock. If selling a stock, sell all of it. If buying a stock, buy the maximum allowed given cash in hand. The reward system was what took the most time to develop and required several iterations. The details are listed, but to simplify it, a good reward is given when a trade results in a profit and the stock is bought, held, sold at the right time. For example, buying a stock on the way up. The reverse goes for giving a penalty except for one thing. So a large penalty is given if any trade of the 3 stocks is determined as a bad trade. So why to do that? So in the first iteration of the reward system, this was not there. And what was observed is that the agent quickly learned the best of the 3 stocks to trade and ignored the other 2. So here is an overview of how long it took to learn. And you might think that 80 hours, wow, it's a long time. But remember, how long do you think it takes a human to learn how to trade successfully over 12 years? So compared to that one, it's not that a long period of time. And now we can go out to look into our script. Okay, so this is our workflow here, our file that we are using for the reinforcement learning model. So here we will use simulated data, we will use historical data. The model, as you can see, is prepared to use live data, so you can fetch data into your script, into your model. So if you favor using fetch data, live stream data instead of historical data, this model is prepared for you, so you can switch between the simulated data and the stock fetched stock data. So we have 3 stocks and we make these variations 0, 1, or 2 based on sell, hold, or buy. These are the 3 options that we can combine for actions. And in total, it results at 27 combinations. We use this myReset function to set, and if we open up this one, open myReset function, as you can see here. So we have the initial invest, the cash in hand is 20K, it's 20,000 as we have seen in the problem setup. And then we will use a random function generation here when we initialize the model run up. So we use and we run multiple simulations, and through trial and error, our agent will learn how to trade through penalties and rewards. And whenever we run and start a new simulation, as you can see, we initialize with a random number to make sure that we start from a different scenario as we have seen previously. So this is our reset function here. Okay, then we set up the environment. This is where it's set up. I will not go into those details, but if you want and if you need some additional information how to do that, please let us know and we can go into details on that, so how to do that. Then we can set up the agent, the neural networks here. So here the layers, the connected layers are defined here, and you can plot this so you can visualize the layers here. So how do they look like? And now we create an agent itself. This is that part. And now we can set up the training options. There are several options that you can customize the training process. So these are the ones that we utilize during our training part. I already run multiple simulations, so we can have a look at the solutions right now, so we don't need to wait for that. Anyway, it's quite fast. And if you have a GPU, which is enabled, then you can run these simulations much faster. But even in a modern computer, using a modern CPU, they run quite fast. Okay, and then here you can see I have the simulations here. I have some displayed output data on the different simulations, and then we have an outputted plot here. So here we have the constant orange line, which is the initial investment, the cash in hand, it's 20K. And with the blue line, you can see this is the current value, and the three different lines, this orange one, the purple one, and the green one, you can see the actual values of the three stocks. And as again, the current value that we have is here is the blue one. And what's good news that we achieved what we wanted, that yeah, we never lost money and we made some money through these simulations. So going back to our presentation, let's summarize the results here that what we have seen here. We have a histogram, so this shows the results for 100 of simulations, and not once did the agent ever lose money. And so yes, we achieved our goal. However, you can see that the range varies quite a bit. And if you inspect the plots on the right, so just buying and holding one stock would return the profit just as good, if not better, than the agent. But it's easy to judge retrospectively. The agent was trading each day as it occurred, so none of the simulation resulted in a loss. So that's a nice thing to achieve. And yes, we can improve our model, so we could add additional steps. So we could include the transaction costs. We could cover the high-low spreads also, so that could be another step towards achievement and improving the model and an algorithm. Or we could refine the reward system, or we could try out different agents. As I mentioned earlier, there are different agents, and different agents have different pluses and deltas, advantages and disadvantages. Some agents are really good and really good performer agents for time continuous problems, and other agents are really good for discrete problems. By simply changing one agent to another, this could improve also the outcome of the simulation results. And also we could add different reward system. So there are some room for improvement. And why should we use MATLAB for this part? So MATLAB supports the whole workflow from accessing and exploring data, accessing data from files, databases, and sensors, pre-processing the data, so you can use the graphical user interface. There are several built-in applications to do that, and the built-in examples to develop the algorithm, to make optimization problems, and then you can turn your algorithms into desktop applications if you wish. That's also possible. And you can also integrate into enterprise systems, and you can generate a code from your model. That's also possible. And you can use the coder products to generate code for embedded devices. And you can also include and integrate your algorithm into, let's say, Power BI or other enterprise systems. And you can compile your algorithm into web applications. So if you want to share your solutions, share your algorithms with other colleagues inside your organization or with other customers outside your organization, that's also possible. So there are several ways how you can do that. And also MATLAB supports, as you have seen, GPU computation. So if you have a GPU acceleration enabled hardware, then you can use that one also, or you can expand the capabilities with the parallel server and with the parallel computing toolbox. So you can speed up the training process further. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, reach out to us. We are happy to help you, and thank you for joining this webinar. See you at our next one.